Hey y'all, okay, so we're gonna talk about raw sex right quick. That's right, I ain't saying nothing in Chinese. You understood exactly what I just said. And if you don't know what raw sex is, I bet you know how it feels. I'm not gonna lie. Nothing feels better than raw sex. Okay? But there's so many different things that we can talk about that pertain to raw sex that I'm just gonna start with the general education. Okay, so me personally, I was educated about sex in the black church. And if you were educated in Kojic or Pentecostal Apostolic or any of those other Southern-based black churches, you already know how limited the views on sexuality are, okay? And a lot of us were educated that way. We were also educated about sex by parents who weren't properly educated on sex themselves. There's still a lot of taboos around sex and things like that. And we internalize a lot of those things, and I believe that it creates, certain fears of intimacy and things like that around sex and whatever. But that's a whole different conversation. I want to talk about raw sex, and I want to talk about how our education and understanding of sex could perhaps affect our thoughts around it. A lot of people are fucking raw, okay? Some people talk about it very casually, and we shy away from these conversations, especially in the black community. But the truth is, we know people out here fucking raw. I get on Twitter, if I'm in bed at 8:55 preparing for sleep, I'm drinking my chamomile tea and reading my Bible passages. And then after 9 o'clock, they just disappear, booties and dicks and balls and stuff jiggling just all up in my screen. And I try to help myself. No, but seriously, we see how just open and sexually free, people are, especially now. And people have no qualms with fucking raw. Like, people are on Twitter, fucking raw. They're on Instagram, setting thirst traps. And you know what they're doing? They're meeting people and they fucking raw. What else? Facebook has some thirst traps and things like that. Even though they clamping down on it, they putting your ass in Facebook jail. And you know what people are doing in Facebook jail? They fucking raw. I'm just playing. But, even in the church where we were taught these things, we were taught, sex is dirty, you should only be having sex under these certain conditions, don't do this, don't do that. And you know what the pastor was doing 2 cities over after those revivals let out? He was fucking raw. And you know how we know he was fucking raw? Because we would find out that Pastor Brown had illegitimate children 2 towns over, and you don't get children by fucking with condoms on. Or even if you do, it could break, but them pastors be fucking raw. Okay, the spirit hit them and they just dive up in their raw. I also noticed that at some nightclubs that I've gone to, I go to clubs in West Hollywood. I was in Mickey's in West Hollywood. And you know what? They were in the stall doing it raw. I have been in New York City. I've been in Atlanta. And I have watched people see each other from across the club floor, right? Go, they start having a little small talk, dance, start kissing on each other. And they head right to the bathrooms. And they go up in those stalls and they do it raw. They just do. I've had friends that have done it. I have been in a situation in a nightclub one time where I almost did it raw, but just got hot and heavy, and before we could even get that far, it just anyway. I'm not going to get all into that, but it happens. People get caught up in the passion and the excitement of the moment, and whatever happens, happens, right? And on one hand, people act surprised about it, and then on another hand, people are generally, they seem pretty careless about it. I wanted to have this conversation, one, because people talk about it, but not thoroughly. And when I say careless, it's not to shame anybody for their whatever they decide to do with their body. It's more so because when I'm in, and again, and back to the nightclubs especially, like meet people you don't know fucking them raw, or at these sex parties fucking raw. Some of these folks, if you live like outside of Atlanta or somewhere, you're bored, nothing on TV, country folks, they go hang down at the Walmart. And when they be down at the Walmart, they be up in there looking for sex partners. I know because I've hung out in Atlanta before, and I know certain Walmarts down there are cruising spots. And you know what they do? They go in the bathrooms, they go behind them dumpsters, they go in the cars, and a lot of times they do it raw, right? And don't just do it raw. They go up in these people's booty holes and all sorts of other holes, and they go up in there and they nut. Like I'm talking about, they finish the job. They go up in there and they nut. So it's not just sticking the head in or nothing like that. It's going up in there and it's nutting. It's like finishing. And I'm concerned on one hand because of things like PrEP. I think that PrEP makes people believe sexually that they are invincible, that they can just be out here fucking everybody raw, because a lot of times, you know, you hear people having these conversations about sex. I have also been in a couple of situations where, you know, I was involved or engaged in, you know, sexual activity with somebody, and I'm like, all right, so we need to use a condom. No, let's not use a condom. I'm on PrEP. What? I don't know what other type of stuff you got going on. And I'm not trying to get nothing, you know, something to just jump off on you. You don't know what people have, like something can just jump off on you. You know, it feels good, and 3 days later you look down there and there's something down there running around your pubic hair, like, you don't know, right? It's also in these major cities, though, and this is one of the other things, and I'm going to get back to PrEP in a second, is these billboards about a super strain of gonorrhea, super strains of chlamydia, like super heavy strains of STDs that have become resistant to drugs. And I'm like, y'all ain't scared? Like, because for me personally, I value my sexual health enough to be scared of that type of shit. Because this is stuff that you have to like live with. It's like dripping and it make your dick ugly, and I can't have that. I can't have none of my stuff looking bad. And people seem generally careless or oblivious to it. And again, they're leaning on the idea that PrEP is the end-all, be-all for any sexual, you know, issues that may arise from having raw sex. And I've had this conversation with a couple of friends. I also understand how it sounds when a lot of us approach raw sex with our views, which a lot of us, you know, we approach it with the same views that we were given growing up, which were generally ignorant. And I say all this to say, we sound ignorant in a lot of ways because as scandalous as it does seem that people are having raw sex, they've always had raw sex. They weren't having it on Twitter, but they were doing it. You know, they weren't doing it on OnlyFans. And I mean, and even on OnlyFans, it's like now, you can go over to somebody's house for a date, you know, and they be like, yeah, you know, so I know this is a date or whatever, we're about to hook up, I'm not going to show your face, but I just want to hit it from the back and I want to videotape it and I want to put it on my OnlyFans. And you know what? I realize that people got to make their money however they got to make their money, and if that brother needs to do that so that y'all can have a place to fuck, by all means, go for it, as long as both people say yes. But, and again, they're fucking raw, like a lot of people are fucking raw. And I really did start to have this conversation with myself. I had this conversation with a couple of friends, and I just listened to the casual conversations that a lot of people have about raw sex, and sometimes the judgment. And we really shouldn't be surprised at who's having raw sex and how they're having sex, because people have always done it. And again, listen, now you can get on the internet and see it all the time, and you realize how much people are doing it. And a lot of us, when we pass our judgments on it and create these conversations that aren't really expansive and open-minded, we really sound just like the people who educated us about sex, okay? What it really comes down to is understanding that people get to do whatever the fuck they want to do with their bodies. If somebody wants to have raw sex and that's what's going to get them on, by all means do it. Some people like to play Russian roulette every now and then. We've all been in a situation where things got a little hot and heavy and you slipped up in there and it started feeling good, and before you realized it, you did the do without a condom on, and you went to the clinic 2 weeks later with your fingers crossed, with your prayer cloth taped to you, or whatever you had to get done, and we realized the risk that it put us at. And I know that people are aware of those risks, and some people are just willing to take those risks to have a good time. So you know what it comes down to? Is honoring the fact that people can do whatever the hell they want to do with their bodies. Accepting it and realizing that the only person's body you can control is your own. So if you're in a situation with somebody and they decide that they want to fuck raw and you don't want to, you have every right to express it, and nobody's going to make you do it without a condom if you don't want to. Bitch, get up and leave, or do mutual masturbation or something. You know, put a trash bag on it or something. There are alternatives. There are no excuses. You control what it is that you do with your body and your body only, and you still get to have a good time either way. But people are still gonna, that's one of the things that sometimes makes that sex so exciting is the spontaneity. Shit, some people be like, well, bitch, you only live one time. I'm gonna do what I want to do with my body, and you know what? If they're willing to take that risk and do it, I fully support it. But it really comes down to us knowing what the risks are and deciding if we want to follow through with those risks. And if the conversation comes up about it, having an honest conversation about it and keeping it moving forward, because that's what we do here, is honest conversations and moving forward. All right, so I just wanted to put that out there. How do you feel about raw sex? Do you have raw sex? Because some people, that's what they prefer. Why do you do it? Do you think PrEP has affected the way people rationalize raw sex? And what y'all think about this super strain, bitch? Gonorrhea got a cape on. I'm terrified. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Make sure y'all follow me on Instagram at Samson McCormick, and keep having these conversations. Like and share, and live your best life.